Hi guys, it's Miss Swigert here, and we are starting a brand new unit today, Unit 2. So you need to have your composition book and a pencil, and you should be watching this together with your group. So um, before you get started, what I want you to do is take your purple unit objective sheet that you just got, and I want you to take some scissors and you're going to cut it so it's small enough to fit inside your notebook. So you're going to cut it along the side. I'll do it with you real quick, just like along the line so it'll fit on the page of your notebook. There we go. All right. So now it's small enough to fit. I want you to open up your notebook right straight smack dab to the middle. So you should be able to see the stitches on the inside. And you're going to take a glue stick and you're going to glue it to the right hand side. So the page that you would write on, like you're looking at it like that, you would write on that side, right? The right hand side. So you're going to glue it straight in there. And the point of that is this is going to be the brand new page of this new unit. So every day when you come to class, you're going to look at this page to see what are we supposed to be doing today. So I can see that today it says Thursday, 10/21. That's today. Lesson 1. We're going to start with lesson 1, the Crucible overview. So that's what we're doing right now. Whoa. Okay. So you're going to watch the video and take notes. You're doing that right now. And then you're going to do the activity Puritan quiz. And if you have time, you might get to this practice, the Puritan stations. But there's also time for that tomorrow. Okay. So once you've glued that in, you can pause now if you need to glue that in. Pause. Okay. Then you're going to turn the page and you're going to start your notes on this next page. So the next page, you can title it Lesson 1, Unit 2 Overview, something like that, the Crucible. Here we go. So our focus for this unit is this standard. I would not write the standard down, but I would listen to what I'm saying right now. Okay, so where students will evaluate the extent to which historical, cultural, and or global perspectives affect authors' stylistic and organizational choices in grade level literary and informational genres. That's a mouthful, isn't it? That's a lot of words. But what we're looking at is we're thinking about what was going on historically and culturally that affected the author's choices. Like what was going on when this was written? You know, every book is or everything that anyone writes has to do with what's going on in the author's life and what's going on around him or her, right? So that's what we're really thinking about. We're going to think about the different things that are going on in history. So here we go. What we're going to read is The Crucible. So just getting a little thought about what The Crucible could be about. You might have heard of it before. Maybe you've heard of that title. But I want to just look at this cover so we can see. I'm going to talk through what I think it could be about based on the cover. So first of all, this the words, the font that they chose, it's kind of old-timey looking to me. Uh, and the T and the "the" here looks like a cross. So that's interesting. Also, I see that there is a big lady that has dangling from her fingers some other people that are on, like, they're hanging like from a noose. So that looks creepy to me. So it looks old and timey, maybe religious, and creepy. That's what I would take away from that. Here we go. I'm going to tell you what I already know about the Crucible. Here we go. I keep saying here we go. I'm sorry. It is a play by Arthur Miller. So a play is what you would see on stage. It's when actors are up on stage and they're acting out the roles of things. So when you read like a book or a regular novel, it's going to give descriptions of what's going on. In a play, it usually just shows you like when you're reading a play, it would just tell you the dialogue of people with short stage directions. So if you remember reading Romeo and Juliet in your freshman year, that was also a play. All right. It was written in the 1950s. These things that I'm underlining might be important things for you to write down. So it was written in the 1950s. So we're going to be looking at what was going on in the 1950s that would make this guy, Arthur Miller, write a play about this. So, what was going on in the 1950s? We're going to touch on that. But first, we're going to also touch on what was going on during the time it's set in. So, it was written in the 1950s, but it takes place in Salem, Massachusetts in 1692. 1692. So that was like the very olden timey times. If you know anything about the history of the United States, you should know that there was no United States then. That was before America was its own country. So that's pretty interesting. And it is set during what's called Puritan times. Excuse me. So the rest of the notes for today are going to be about who the Puritans were. Who were the Puritans? Okay, who are the Puritans? The Puritans were people who left England over across the Atlantic for the New World or America in 1620. So back in the olden timey times, these people felt religious persecution in England, and so they left England to set up their own colony in the New World. We're not really going to touch here about how this was not really a new world. It was someone else's world, but they came over and did that. They set up what was called the Massachusetts Bay Colony, where current day Massachusetts state is. And these people took religion very, very, very seriously. So that is a big thing about the Puritans, is they took religion super duper seriously. A few other things about the Puritans. So this is kind of when I think of the Puritans, this is what they look like. You can see that they had like the buckle. They kind of look like pilgrims. They have like the buckle on the hat, and the women wear these bonnets, and they pray a lot, right? They care a lot about the Lord. So their government was what was called a theocracy. This is something I would probably write down in your notes. A theocracy is a government that blends church and state. In other words, the church officials, like the priests or the pastors or the preachers, ministers, they were in charge of stuff. So if you maybe weren't doing things to the moral code of the church, if you broke church rules, then you could be put in jail, maybe, or you could be maybe something worse. So they came to the New World and they wanted their colony to be a utopia consisting of godly scripture and a strong work ethic. So they had, that's something that the Puritans are very well known for, having a very strong work ethic, believing in hard work, and really disapproving of people who did not, in their own eyes, work hard enough. Some other stuff about the Puritans: they lived very, very hard lives. When they were setting up this new colony, they were trying to farm and build and live on the frontier. And these people had not really ever lived that way before. So they came, a lot of people died. They weren't used to the cold winters. Women were dying in childbirth. Children were dying in childbirth. It was really, really rough for them. And they had a super, very hardcore moral code. They didn't believe in things like dancing or women and men being alone together at all, and unless they were married. And they had basically no knowledge of science or medicine. So if you think about it, think about if you had this very hard life where all of these really rough things were happening, but you didn't really understand anything about medicine. And at the same time, you really believed everything about this moral code. So they would have ideas about things like if things happened, if people got sick and they couldn't explain it, they would blame it on things like the devil and um, witchcraft, things like that. So, as we're kind of going into reading the Crucible, we're going to learn some more things about the Puritans. So, the next thing you're going to do after this notes is you and your group are going to take a little quiz to see how Puritan you are, how much you kind of line up with their moral code. So, I think it's going to be kind of fun. And then you're going to discuss like your different scores you got. After that, you're going to do a little stations activity with your group to see just more about Puritan life. And that's going to really help you understand the decisions the characters are making and when we start reading the play. And it's going to help you understand, what life was like back then. Because the play is not going to make sense unless you understand what life was like. Here we go.